It's happening. Okay. Hello, everyone. Actually, I don't know if we're holding everyone yet because the video hasn't popped up yet. So I will go like that. And, floor dog. How's it going over there? I don't have a butt to scratch before the opening of the show because you're lazying on the floor. So, I'm going to take a sip of water, ponder everything. Any day now video, show me that I'm actually going live. Here we go. All right, there it is. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Houston with a Problem. We are back on a Friday. So, DFV's back. It appears from his picture, it's a screenshot of Toy Story where Andy says to Woody, I don't want to play with you anymore, and then throws him away. Except Woody has the puppy dog face from the dog emoji that he posted when he bought a whole bunch of Chewy. So is he saying, I got rid of my Chewy and now it's on to bigger and better things? Well, tens of thousands of call options were purchased today in 5,000 call blocks. I was going to pull up the GME options chain. All of like the 2250 zone, somewhere in there. So everything's in the money again. Yeah, so at 2250, 17,000 options, 22,900, 23.5, 26,000, 24, 34,000 of them, 24.5, another 10,000, $25, another 40,000. This is all for expiring next week. So we have a big bill of options, A, because earnings is coming, and B, because it appears that Roaring Kitty, DFV, Keith Gill, is up to his 5,000 block tricks again, and it's run. I picked up a couple. I've got a couple at $24. So, you know, see where it goes. Pretty spectacular, if you ask me. Wait a minute. Oh no, sorry, I've written the wrong one today. That's for today. Oh my goodness. Today's were that many moving. We got 28,700 at the 2250 level, 9,000 at 23, 4,000 at 23.5, 8,000 at 24, 15,000 at 25. Okay, that makes more sense. So yeah, tens of thousands of these suckers got purchased. They're moving. The price moved a couple of bucks as a result. Rock and roll, right? So what's Kitty's plan? I don't know. Houston's plan normally is you buy some options on the Friday before. Stock price goes up a couple of bucks by the day of the earnings. You sell those options. You buy some puts because whatever the earnings are, they're just going to hammer it down anyway. And then you make some cash off of that and then use that to buy the GME at a discount that next morning, right? DFV, these are weeklies. These are weeklies. So if he's buying these weeklies, he's looking to either be done with them before the end of the week or to exercise them. Although he doesn't seem to be an exerciser, he seems to be a guy who sells and then buys shares. So maybe he sells them all Wednesday afternoon, buys a whole bunch of shares on the cheap Thursday morning, and does that. So, update, I'm hoping to premiere the new show. I got a new channel I'm setting up. I will probably post links to it tomorrow so people can go to it. For Houston Wade's Raging Election. The first show will be about 2 p.m. Pacific time on Sunday. And we're going to detail, and I'm trying to get as much evidence together as I can. I've got tons of windows open here that I'll linking to it. But I'm going to try and detail the Russian ops behind the current election and trying to affect, you know, change in America via Kremlin OPSEC. It'll be fun. It'll be a live show, so you know if you guys want to throw questions at me, but it will be a different channel. It won't be on this channel. It'll be a new channel that currently is unmonetized because I need to get 4,000 viewing hours or whatever, but monetize it. So you'll be able to jump in there and do that. Otherwise, we talk about still whatever you want to talk about on this show, including the fact my shoulder is still killing me. Oh my gosh. Just a throbbing, dull pain. And the thing is, it hurts here, but it's coming from right there. It's very annoying. Anything else to add, Monkey? Other than being a floor dog? Floor dog, do you have anything to add there? Bing. Okay, turn it off. Ding-a-ling. Off. Okay, my guess is you guys are going to have 9 million questions about DFV today. Andrew Dowell, first, haha, and first to like. Also, nice. Danny Moots, second, nice. Hey, Houston, happy birthday. What's your option strategy next week for GME? Pretty standard. Bought some options today. Made day trade a couple of times going into Wednesday because, you know, it'll fluctuate up and down and then end up higher. And implied volatility makes the price go dunk, 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 leading up to the Wednesday of options. And then I'm probably going to sell them all right before close on Wednesday. Is it Tuesday or Wednesday? Crap. Which day is it that is the earnings? 10th. Tuesday. Sorry, Tuesday. So probably sell them all right before close on Tuesday. And then I'll probably buy some puts. I may, you know, hedge a little bit, but I'll probably buy some puts and then in the morning sell all those and purchase more GME shares with it because why not? And Nine's laughing about taking advice from using options. Hey, sometimes I win big on the options. Sometimes I absolutely trip and fall on my face. Boris Raspy, Houston, do you think DFV will tweet one time during MOASS and that will be our cue to sell that day? No. I think he's the type of guy who tweets after he's done something. So that's what he does. I think he makes a move, then he tweets to go, ha ha, I made a move. And everyone goes, oh my God. And then he makes a move, and then he tweets again. He's like, I'm done with that move. Everyone goes, oh my God. And so that's what he does. And Boris Raspy, Houston, last question. Once you sell, you convert them to shares immediately or leave it with your broker and withdraw money little by little into your bank account? I'm talking about MOASS time. Depends on what's going on with MOASS. I will probably take a whole bunch and buy up index funds and blue chips that are down, because if everything's going like this on the meme stock side, everything else is going like that, and they'll be screaming deals. So I'll probably do a bunch of that. Yeah, I don't have much interest in keeping it in cash. Take out a little bit to, go on a vacation, to, I don't know, take Monkey somewhere tropical. I don't know. You want to go somewhere tropical, Monkey? Yeah? Okay. It's hot as balls. I should have done outside show today. It's so warm in here. What temp do we have? It's 80. It's 80 in this room. It's quite humid today. I'm dying right now. And my shoulder's killing me. I'm dying and my shoulder's killing me, and Monkey's panting. She's miserable, just like me. I wish I could be panting right now. Yeah, so I'm probably just reinvesting into blue chips, long-term things, and such and such. Mike Forsch, MMTLP latest, I've heard nothing. De nada. The last I heard is that they're selling to some accredited investors some more shares to raise capital, because they need capital to drill some more holes. And they think they have 110K left to file before they can file an S1 to do a split off of their new co. That's it. That's where we are. Case. So I hear you made $100,000 per week to do your show. Not a bad gig if you can get it. Mail come yet? Have a great weekend, man. I got your package. I got this one. With the outside microphone, the lavalier one. And I've not been to the post office this week. I'm waiting for one more shipment of envelopes so I can finish sending these things out. They're supposed to come on Tuesday, and they have not arrived yet. And I was hoping to get everything mailed today, everything shipped and mailed today. So that's gonna just have to wait a little bit. So yes, giant thing of package of boxes. So, and I still have a couple of letters that I need. Once I get those other envelopes, I can, you know, ship off the Show 500 success thingies. And also I need to send SJ's metal tube all the way to Australia. Because we're all about efficiency here. Jason Blackwell, $100 a week. Oh man, actually it's closer to that. Lisa Sa, Kitty YOLO update incoming before earnings, please. Maybe Sunday night. You think Sunday night? He usually posts his YOLO update like Sunday night. So he sent his little thingy. We saw a whole bunch of buying of those 5,000 call option blocks. So perhaps Sunday night, maybe. Do we have big volumes of other ones? What about 20th? Not big on the 20th. October 18th. Not big on October 18th either. So it looks like DFV is playing weeklies this week. So weeklies it is apparently. Kelly Reed, Canada cuts rates again, 25 basis points. Remember, the faster the cuts, the worse things actually are. Canada productivity fell 0.2% for a second straight quarter. Canada's unemployment hit 6.6% in August. Yeah, Canada's going to have to just put everybody in the mines here because that's what's looking like it's going to happen. Canada needs to make homes cheap, super cheap. They got to remove the burden of rental and home ownership in Canada by probably 70%, maybe more. That seems to be the biggest thing. And cutting rates is not going to get them there. That's going to cause more inflation in home prices. So I don't know what the government is thinking they're doing, but they're definitely doing it wrong at the moment. And Kelly Reese says, happy birthday, by the way. GME to the moon, MOASS next year or before Crystal Ball? I don't see this current week's play being a MOASS type play from DFV. Because the earnings aren't going to be that great. It's not going to have the $4 billion in cash from quarter 2 in there yet. That will be the next earnings call, which would be December, I believe, for quarter 3. So and then they'd be like, hey, we got $4 billion cash on hand. We're doing these moves. Making this money off interest, blah, blah, blah. So the quarter 2, there's one chunk of quarter 2, which is going to be the 45 million shares sold. So they'll say, hey, we got $1 billion cash on hand from that. But I don't think like sales wise, things are going to be going crazy. They might have some sort of mention of their retro stores. But you know, I could be totally wrong. They could announce some gigantic merger acquisition, and I'm just an idiot. But okay. SS Minnow Quad Johnson, 59 days to Mr. President-elect is in office. I mean, Mrs. President-elect. One bummer of news today is that the judge. This is my roommate and I were talking. This is the prosecutor's fault. The judge is like, "Hey, are you guys steadfast on this sentencing date of the 18th?" And apparently Trump's lawyers were like, "Meh," and the prosecutor was like, "Meh," and so the judge moved it to November 26th. So now we got to wait another 2.5 months for Trump to be sentenced in his felony trial. The prosecutor in the New York case should get slapped in the face. Someone should just walk up to him and go, "Slap, you idiot," and just be like, "No, we're cool with the 18th. Make it the 18th. If the other side doesn't have a problem, we'll do it the 18th." Putting it off is just make it happen already. I'm so tired of waiting for things. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. Shit or get off the pot time for everything. But as has been Johnson, Trump is going to get absolutely railed. He is. Let's go to 538. Presidential polls. Bam. Scene. Chrome. Boom, boom. I didn't need to. There are presidential polls. Okay. All right. So, general election. The Polling Institute. Harris is up on all those. Emerson College. This is Ohio. Harris is behind in Ohio. So, you know, she probably won't win Ohio at this point. Texas. Harris is within 3 points in Texas. That is striking distance in Texas. Florida. Harris is within 3 points in Florida. And remember, there is abortion on the ballot. DeSantis is getting absolutely ravaged for the corruption in his office. And Rick Scott is doomed. So he might pick up a Senate seat in Florida. California, Harris is way ahead. General election, Emerson College has Harris up. Remember, Emerson College is the most accurate polling service in 2020 and 2022. They've been within 0.5% in every single solitary state and election that they did in 2020 and 2022. So they have Harris up nationally. They've got, and Morning Consult has Harris up as well. General election, YouGov, Harris is up. Patriot Polling, Harris is up. Morning Consult, Harris is up. Big Data Poll, they're even. For Nevada, Harris is even in Nevada. Arizona, Harris is actually, Patriot Polling has Harris behind in Arizona. But again, the Senate candidate in Arizona's, Republican Senate candidate in Arizona is getting her ass kicked, and there's abortion on the ballot in Arizona. So, gonna lose there. And Patriot Polling in Georgia has Harris down by 1. North Carolina has Harris down by 2, though Harris was even in the other North Carolina one. Wisconsin even. Michigan even. This is all Patriot Polling, and Patriot Polling does skew to the right. Pennsylvania even, and we got active vote, general election, Harris up. SoCal Strategies still has Harris down in Ohio. Alaska, Harris down. Who cares? General election, McLaughlin Associates, Harris up. Harris up. Harris up. Harris up. Harris up. So basically, she's gonna win the popular vote. That's guaranteed at this point. She's going to win Michigan. She's going to win Minnesota. She's going to win Wisconsin. She's probably going to win Pennsylvania. She's probably going to win North Carolina. She very likely could win Georgia, and outside chance she could win Florida. And if they put enough people on the ground in Texas, well, things get interesting there. If I were Harris, again, my roommate and I are also talking about this. If I were Harris, you get on a bus and you go to every little pipsqueak town in Pennsylvania. Ignore the cities. You don't need to go to the cities in Pennsylvania. Go to pipsqueak towns, ride that bus, and surprise people and ride that bus in some place like Texas, right? Go to a state that could make or break one side or the other. Talk up the Senate candidate and just be in these little towns where they never expect someone like you to go, because that's where you need to gain the votes. You have the votes in the cities. You're going to win the major cities by 80-20. That's just how major cities work. It's going to be the pipsqueak little towns that never get paid attention to that you're going to have to like scoop up some votes. And I think visiting those little towns in some of these borderline states are going to make a huge deal. You got 2 months, so eight bus trips. You got probably Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, those 3. North Carolina, she's been doing one in Florida right now. I say throw Texas in there. Do a big old bus ride across Texas, hit some small towns there out in redneck country, and make your presence known. Just all you need is in Texas is to get 5% more in the pipsqueak counties, and you have a chance to take over the Senate and to win the presidency off of that. So let's see if they do it. That'd be interesting, but no, you're going to lose that bet, big time. Sir Brother Keys back MOASS. I mean, me not getting the MOASS feeling out of it means probably will MOASS. The University of Houston, but I think this is a play into the earnings report. I think he's counting on them to short the hell down, and then buy up a bunch of cheap shares Wednesday morning. That's my feeling anyway. Lisa saw that Wells Fargo employee who died at her desk. Colleagues had complained about a foul smell, but it was dismissed as bad plumbing. What does decomposing body smell like? I have not had the misfortune to experience decomposing human body, but I have experienced decomposing animal bodies, and it is one of the worst smells ever. My friend Brett, he was a cop for years, and he said the worst part of being a cop was the welfare checks to discover a dead body. Because you'd knock on someone's house, you know, doors locked. He's like you go around looking for a window to jimmy. You jimmy a window, and just the smell would hit you, and it would get into your clothes. He's like, I threw away uniforms because the smell wouldn't go away, and had to buy new uniforms. And it was something that happened enough. And I think his experience, he was only a cop for a couple of years while he was in grad school, and I think that most of the trauma he experienced on that job was the dead body smells. That's the one he talks about the most. There's other people who have experience with it. I don't recommend it. My one experience discovering a dead body was pretty fresh, so there wasn't smell involved. And I don't know if I told that story. After high school, I moved to San Diego and was living down there. And one morning, my roommates and I, we were walking down the boardwalk in Ocean Beach to go get some breakfast. And there was this guy on his side. So I saw his back. He's on the beach, and he's by one of the lifeguard towers. This is just after Labor Day, so half the lifeguard towers are all shut down. And he's on his side, and all these bums were like stacking beer cans on his head and like wrote on cardboard like "beer drinking champion." And I was like, that dude's dead. And so we went over, we checked on him. He was dead. Had to get the lifeguard to come down, and he had basically drank a bunch, passed out in the sand, and suffocated. And his friends who had been like stacking beer cans on him were absolutely destroyed. Like, you know, yeah, they're homeless dudes or whatever, right? But like, it was still their buddy. They just like, oh, he's passed out. And they're just having a good time, but they were just basically desecrating their friend's dead body with like, you know, razzing him and chiefing him. That was, yeah, that was pretty brutal. But that's my one dead body experience. And I hope to never have a further experience beyond that. That was MDK. Happy birthday, Houston. What do you think IEP stock is dropping so much? A couple of reasons. One, Carl Icahn and IEP did a $400 million unit sale. Two, Carl Icahn borrowed using his IEP stock as collateral. So I think shorts are trying to hammer it to get him margin called on his loan. And I think those are the main two reasons. I picked up a couple dozen this week because why not? I mean, it's below $11 right now. I probably would have had more GME calls if I didn't pick up so much IEP at below $11. I will gladly take 40% returns, and if it drops even further, you know, I'll gladly take that too. I think Carl Icahn and Brett Icahn have something planned, and I think anyone shorting at this price right now is probably going to be severely underwater soon. I wouldn't doubt if Icahn did some weird thing where, you know, he posted his shares as proxy, took another proxy he had and lent money to himself through that, and they're hoping that he's going to get margin call, but really he's just borrowing money from himself somehow. Like, I bet he's got something up his sleeve. And I think Hindenburg Research and the others who have been attacking him, I think that they're in for it. They're in for it pretty deep. So, you know, well, I'll wait and see what happens. Until then, I'll gladly take $1 dividend every quarter on a $10 stock. That's pretty awesome. Fabrizio's here. Plop. Andrew Dow. Any UK apes in the chat know which UK broker I can use to buy IEP stock? Oh, that I don't know, but help him out. Sis54. Trump's bribery corruption case moved until November 26th. Sounds about white for this country's goofy-ass judicial spineless high road taking cowards. They screw us out of justice. Yes. Hans are happy Friday, y'all. Of all places to hit a dinger, check out this field, Houston. Okay. Where is this? Where are we going here? Boom. Oh, that's right. I had to reboot the computer. So, Google Earth. Schlap. Un momento. Here we go. There we go. All right. We're up. We're at it. We are spam bing bong. So we're going to Canada? No, Massachusetts. Well, that's a good place to hit a dinger, isn't it? Except I would, well, I guess you want southwest corner because the light is better. That's usually southwest corner. But it would be so much more fun to hit that way into the water. But it's a high school, it looks like. So, yeah, it's a great place to hit a foul ball. Overton Point. So, Community Ferry. Yeah, whole high school. What a awesome location for a high school, huh? Let's see what their views are like. Drop this little dude down right here. There we go. Can you imagine having a beach like this right after high school? Look at this. Got little islands, right? Backstop. It's almost as cool as Stadium High School. You can see Boston way off over there. Gorgeous spot. Pretty cool. Where is this overall? It's on this little spit here. Come on, give me north facing here. So it's in, looks like it's in Boston Harbor. Allerton. Nantasket Beach. Huh. Hull. Paddock Islands. Yeah, what a cool little spot. You guys ever seen Stadium High School? It was built as like the terminus for the Burlington Northern Railroad, and then they didn't use it as the hotel, and they gave it to the city and they turned it into a high school. Stadium High School, Tacoma. Boom. It's where they did, they filmed something, 10 Things I Hate About You, I believe. That was, come on. It is the prettiest high school in the world. So, here's Stadium High School. Here is their football field. They don't have a baseball field here, but tennis courts down below. But you can go, we have a good spot, picture. Yeah, let's go in the middle of the football field here. So, that's the high school. It's a castle. And then you've got, you're surrounded by the castle. If you're up in the stands, you've got views of the water and everything. Let's see if we can get some cool views. Do we have views from up in the stands? Come here. Anything up in here? How about up there? Overlooking everything. Don't care about that direction. We care about the other direction. Care about that. There you go. There's your views. There's your views. There's the school itself. It is the most gorgeous high school in America. Oh, I can't take me up in the thing. I don't have to do it the old-fashioned way, which is just pictures. Turn off Google Earth. Go back here. Stadium High School. Images. Boom. Like this is the high school. This is the views you have. It is this beautiful giant castle that was built as a hotel for the Burlington Northern Railroad terminus, and it is the prettiest high school. It's an okay high school at that, but it is just absolutely gorgeous. Right there, right next to downtown. Just beautiful. Just a beautiful, beautiful high school. They need a baseball field, though, to be right on the water, too, like everything else. Anywho, MS, Houston, hope you had GME calls. Hey, do you want to share the best non-financial thing you've read or talk about ocean trash prognosis? Thanks. Best non-financial thing I've read ever or recently? Recently, I haven't started a new book. The last book I just finished was a collection of short stories from Tom Hanks. It was actually pretty decent. Probably the best non-financial thing that I read today was about the SC27. Is that the thing? If Iggy's in here, he can verify for me. So they found an antibody that's in some humans that identifies and attacks COVID in all its forms. Doesn't matter what happens to spike protein or any changes, it goes, that's a bad guy, and attacks it. And it's in a couple of people, and they were able to isolate it, identify it, and they think they'll be able to synthesize it and put it into vaccines that will just nullify. Then any version of COVID that comes along, it's toast. And I think that's probably the best thing that I read today. So the advancements of science, it's the University of Texas Austin is who discovered it. So yeah, I think that's fantastic. That's probably the best thing I read today. Is we don't have to worry about this crap anymore. If we can just get this stuff into vaccines, then boom, done. Bob's your uncle. Oh, and the reset of the chat. Of course, the chat always loves to reset. And then I gotta scroll up, go back to where we were. I was MS. Okay. Just Miami. Mark Cuban for SEC is no longer a crazy thought. Yes. So some billionaires are pushing hard against Kamala Harris. They want to get rid of Lena Khan out of the FTC because she's doing her job, making sure we have a competitive economy. And they want to get rid of Gary Gensler, and Mark Cuban is like, pick me, I'll do it. So, and the funny thing is that the billionaires are having a problem with Gary Gensler because he's making too many rules. He's regulating too much. And the problem people in the meme community have is that he's not making enough rules. So if the billionaires get their way, we're going to get someone even worse and less effectual than Gary Gensler is. So I have a proposition. Make Lena Khan head of the SEC. Do that. I bet we'd have some hell of regulations if she was in charge of the SEC. And then take one of her proteges and keep them at the FTC. So there's my solution. Sorry, Mark Cuban. You don't get to run the SEC. We don't get to have billionaires run the SEC. We're going to have nerds. Nerds run the SEC. That's who should be in charge. Lunch friend, happy Aloha Friday all. Thanks for the updates, HW. Let's go Trump. No. Straight to jail. Said we gotta wait till the 26th. Sis54, unless Roaring Kitty shows a YOLO update, I'm not believing the calls are him. Sure, hedge funds know his previous way of doing things and could be emulating to trap a bunch of people and options. Tempting nonetheless. Possibly. But I think the fact that he tweeted today is enough to make that correlation now with the call options play we saw. Justin G, that Tate meat cannon vid you linked is brilliantly disturbing, as is most of his vids. That video is hilarious, and I bet Edutate absolutely hates it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's linked in there somewhere. Andrew Tate was calling some guy the F word for talking about this guy was like, hey folks, I went to Italy with my wife a year ago and I just got a ticket in the mail. Do I have to pay it? And Tate's like, that guy's a pussy and an F word and whatever. And so I just had to respond with Tate having sex with himself video. Danny Bachelor, GME by Big Lots gets GME buys Big Lots, gets hundreds of physical stores and real estate for pennies on the dollar, and now has physical storefronts for GameStop and Baby? Buying Big Lots would be solid. We had talked about this. We talked about Big Lots a year ago, at least. Remember when we went through the list of companies with $5 billion in sales and their market cap? And we went through and we found several companies that all had fit the same model. It was like Big Lots, GameStop, not Mervyn, like Lamont's or Mervyn's or Kohl's or one of those things. Like brick and mortars, own real estate, look like they've been over leveraged by debt, but still doing like $5-6 billion a year in sales. But you could buy the entire company for $200 million. Yeah, I think buying something like Big Lots would be a big deal. You go in, credit bid them out of bankruptcy, all the debt's gone, you get all this real estate. Like that'd be a pretty solid move. I think you're right. I like it. Stephanie, hey, super chat. What's your opinion on the Green Party, Jill Stein, Cornel West? Their platform is a bit elitist, but I'm not down with Harris' stance on Gaza. Jill Stein, in my opinion, is a Russian plant. She's gone to Russia a bunch of times. She's had dinner with Putin. She's hung out with like Mike Flynn in Russia. Like, only thing she does every 4 years shows up to split the vote. She never does anything with the Green Party to try and get other candidates into positions, into city councils, state legislatures. You know, they don't do anything in off years to build up an actual base. It seems like her entire job is to step in, siphon off votes from the Democratic Party in order to get Putin's preferred candidate, Trump, into office. Cornel West, like if Cornel West 20 years ago had run for Senate in a place like Massachusetts, he could have won. And he would be able to affect change adequately now. But he didn't do that. And I have a problem with folks that don't try to affect change from within the binary party structure that we have. Because we are a binary party structure. We have a first past your post election system, meaning whoever gets the plurality of the vote. You don't have to get 50% of the vote. You just have to get more than the next person. And if you got a huge candidate field, and that huge candidate field means the person with the most votes has 30% of the votes, they're in office. That's how it works. And so you're kind of stuck going within the party structure, aside from a few outliers here and there. Like Bernie Sanders of Vermont's an outlier. The dude, what's his name, running in Nebraska is kind of an outlier, running as independents. But again, they're starting at a lower level than just being like, oh, I think I'm good enough to run for president. I think there's a lot of issues with how you have to navigate the Israel-Palestine wars, because there are wars. It's just an ongoing thing forever. And I don't think it's solvable. And you're not going to get peace. You're just not going to get it. So trying to be like, oh, we're going to strive for like perfection and peace and whatever, you're not going to get it. There's a few immediate things you can do. One, you can try to get a ceasefire established so that Netanyahu stops murdering. Two, you can get the Israeli government to do a no confidence vote and get an election going so that Netanyahu is out. I think getting Netanyahu and Likud out of power is probably the most important thing in that entire situation. Netanyahu is not popular. He is very unliked. The Israelis want to see an end to the conflict. They're out there by the hundreds of thousands protesting right now, getting hit with water cannons and everything else. You have the Palestinians on the ground don't want Trump as president. They want Harris. So if you can look up some news reports. Basically, they'll take Harris over Trump because they know Trump will give Netanyahu the green light to kill every last Palestinian in existence. So you've got people that support the Palestinians here in the U.S. who are like, Harris is evil. But the Palestinians themselves are like, we'll take Harris. Because at least she's trying for a ceasefire, right? So I think you have to look at it that way. The Palestinian people don't support Hamas. You hear these things, oh, they're all members of Hamas. No. Hamas took over basically in a violent coup in Gaza, supported by Netanyahu and Likud. In 2006, 2007, they struck a deal that was basically, hey, Gaza, here's a bunch of money and weapons, kill all these moderates and leftists, and you can take power. Why? Because in order for Netanyahu to maintain power in Israel, he's got to keep all the Israelis afraid. And the only way to keep them afraid is if they're constantly launching missiles from Gaza into Israel, every single time Netanyahu is about to face some sort of ramification politically, some sort of ramification from the courts. Because remember, he's been convicted for all sorts of crimes, but because of the way Israeli system is set up, they can't arrest him while he's in power. Dumb. They're trying to do that here in the U.S. Dumb. And you'll notice that the attacks via rockets and otherwise always seem to coincide with the moment Netanyahu is about to face consequences for his actions. And, they get busted shipping millions of dollars through security checkpoints into Gaza from the Israeli government, right? There's New York Times busted. There's all this crazy money laundering through Qatar and Israel, and the briefcases full of money. Let's see here. There we go. Right? Oh, don't. No, just. No, it's Insider. Don't make me pay for crap. Ah! Okay. Is this what I'm going to get out of this? It's just the... Oh, here we go. So Israeli officials are facing backlash after years of Prime Minister Netanyahu quietly allowing Hamas to remain in power. But reporting in the New York Times has revealed that Netanyahu's government was more hands-on about helping Hamas. They helped a Qatari diplomat bring suitcases of cash into Gaza, indirectly boosting the militant organization, according to the report. Basically, they had carloads full, like $30 million in cash in briefcases going through checkpoints into Gaza to bring Hamas money with the blessing of Likud. Why? Because they wanted an enemy. They needed an enemy. You need an enemy to scare your population into submission, basically. And that's the only way Netanyahu can maintain power. And I think the problem that Netanyahu didn't count on was that Hamas wasn't just going to keep launching missiles. They're going to have other plans they're going to use this money for. And they're basically going to violate the agreement by going a little too far, right? And that was October 7th. October 7th, Egyptian intelligence knew October 7th was going to happen, knew when it was going to happen, and were desperately contacting members of the IDF and the government saying, hey, watch out, this thing's going to happen. And all the people who are Likud appointees who received the information went, and didn't do anything with it. They knew. I think what they wanted was a little incursion. We'll go bing, bang, bang. We'll stop them. I don't think they realized it was going to be at the level it was. I don't think they realized it was going to have the deaths and the kidnappings and the horror show that it was, killing more than 1,000 people. And I think that is where Likud went, oh shit, we made a monster. You did. You made a monster. Just weeks prior, there were giant protests in Rafah and Gaza City against Hamas. Popularity level of Hamas, they had like a 70% disapproval. There had been no elections in Gaza since 2007. Once Hamas killed off all the opposition, they took power and they never allowed another election to happen. And then even when, this is where plurality is a problem. They only won like 33% of the vote in that election. But it was more than the other guys. Everyone else, the vote was split, PLL and Fatah and whatever, and Hamas took over and consolidated power and never gave it back. So they've been stuck for 17 years under this brutal Hamas regime, and because Hamas has been getting money and support and funding from the Israeli government that entire time. So, I'd say listen to the Palestinian people, and they want Harris on this one and not Trump, because they know Harris will go for a ceasefire. Voting for Stein or Cornel West, they're not going to win. And if you split the vote, Trump's going to win. And Trump and Netanyahu, they're like peas in a pod. They love each other. Netanyahu's like, hell yeah. And you got Biden on hot mic calling Netanyahu a fucking asshole. That guy's a fucking asshole. I hate him. And, so there's no love lost there. It's just that Biden knows you got to navigate things very delicately in the U.S. because, yeah, IPAC is a very powerful lobbying organization. And you have very prominent Zionists who have dual citizenship between both sides. Some of them are huge donors. And so you do have to tiptoe. You do. You just have to tiptoe. And I think getting a ceasefire is goal number one. And I don't know how necessarily going to do it, especially if you've got Trump back channeling Netanyahu being like, don't do a ceasefire. Well, what will happen is I get elected, then we do a ceasefire and I'm a hero, which is how the Republicans won the 1980 election, right? The hostages were being held in Iran for way too long. The United States could have struck a deal with Iran months and months and months earlier, but you had George H.W. Bush and a bunch of CIA guys on behalf of Ronald Reagan negotiating with Iran saying, hey man, we'll get you a bunch of weapons and money if you hold on to those hostages until the day that Reagan gets inaugurated. And that's what they did. They brokered that deal to crush Jimmy Carter's election hopes. And then Reagan gets, this big old, woohoo, the hostages released. What a great idea it was to elect Reagan. And that is exactly what Trump is trying to do with Netanyahu right now, is he is back channeling with Netanyahu to make sure a ceasefire doesn't happen. And so, yeah, that's the way I see it. And what's happening in Gaza is terrible. What's happening in the West Bank is terrible. I personally think you take Netanyahu and his cabinet, you wrap him in chains, and you dump him in the bottom of the ocean. And that will be the first step of goodwill. Number two, you've got to get rid of every settlement in the West Bank. Just remove every single person from there. Remove them. Build houses elsewhere. That's not going to be in the West Bank. But the problem is that's like 700,000 people. You're going to have to figure out how to rip them out of their homes, and they're armed. They got fucking like Gatling gun security sentries and stuff like that. So I don't know how you do that without having yet more war and more people getting attacked and killed and slaughtered. So I don't know the solution, but it's going to have to come from the Israeli government to remove those people. And it's going to be expensive because you're going to have to move them somewhere. You're going to build them a house and take them out of this one and put them into that house. You have a bunch of folks that have come from Eastern Bloc, primarily Russia, who are Jewish, who are filling out these settlements. And a lot of them, I don't think are Jewish. I think there's one excuse to get the hell out of Russia. So like, yeah, I'm totally Jewish. And they go and they sell these places. It's nice. It's peaceful. It's beautiful. It's great weather. And they don't give a shit about, these Palestinians. They don't care. They're like, hey, I got a free house. I'm cool. And so I think that is a big problem of it. And, the Arab nations who want to tout like, oh, we're all behind Palestine. They have their own issues because they're the ones who removed millions of Jews from their countries and forced them to immigrate to Israel to displace the Palestinians. You had huge Jewish populations in Yemen, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Iraq, Syria, Turkey, Iran. Like there was a tribe of Jews in the mountains of Iran who were all 7 foot tall, blonde with blue eyes. And they are no longer there. They're in Israel. So you can't be like, hey, these people are displacing these Palestinians and complain about that without recognizing the fact that you displaced, millions of Jews in a bunch of North African, Arabic, and Middle East countries that then displaced the Palestinians. There has to be some sort of regional, what do they call it, reconciliation, truth and reconciliation program. They're not all of them. There's a huge Jewish population on one particular island in Tunisia. Where's that island? Google Earth. Gonna go Tunisia. What was the name of it? What was the name of that island? Jerba, that's the one. So, oh my gosh, here we go. Bam. Boom. Bam. Bam. Oh. Bam. Bam. Ah, why did you do that to me? Oh my gosh. It just, like, I don't want the link. I want the word, man. I want the Jerba. Copy. Go to there. Control V. Jerba, there we go. That's what I want. Bam. There, oh, the other island. Okay. So this island is like predominantly Jewish. And Habib Bourguiba, when he took over as strongman of Tunisia, he wasn't Islamist. I don't even know if he was religious. He wanted a secular state, and he did not care about, you know, everyone being angry at Jews or whatever. He's like, I don't care. I just want to make sure everyone can read so that they can get employed and we can become an industrialized nation. And so this island is it's not entirely Jewish, but there's a gigantic Jewish population still on it. And it's one of the few places outside of Israel in the Middle East and North Africa where Jews were allowed to remain. You did have some problems, like in Iraq. You had big Jewish populations in Iraq, and Mossad got busted doing false flag operations to scare Jews into leaving Iraq and settling in Israel. They had like blew up synagogues when no one was there to be like, oh look, they're trying to kill you, when in fact they weren't. Which then started sectarian conflict inside of these places, and then the Jews ended up having to leave anyway. So the Mossad is guilty for a lot of that stuff too. But you know, Saudi Arabia kicked them out, Yemen kicked them out. There were these crazy Jewish. So along the coast of Yemen, there's like really huge cliffs, and there were these amazing cities built into the seaside cliffs, like 1,000 feet up above the ocean, that were entirely Jewish towns. And you know, the Yemenese government went in there and like, get out, and kicked them all out. You had there's a movie that came out recently talking about all the Jews that were forced out of Ethiopia. There was hundreds of thousands of Jews in Ethiopia, and they're forced out. They made their way into Sudan, and eventually like got smuggled out in the Red Sea. It's a very complicated thing. Yes, bombing Gaza is terrible and shouldn't be happening, and Netanyahu's a piece of crap who should go to the International Court of Justice and get the book thrown at him, along with half of his cabinet, if not more. But I don't think the situation is as simple as, you know, we're going to end the conflict day one. Good luck with that, Jill Stein. Like, she can claim that she's not going to get elected, and if she did get in office, she's as corrupt as anything because Putin owns her ass. So you sometimes you got to bite the bullet and take the lesser of two evils. And I think that is the way our election system is set up. I don't think the founding fathers realized it was going to be a lesser of two evils situation, but it's what we deal with. So you got to think about it. Okay, so the Israel-Palestine situation is going to suck forever. It is, because there's no actual solution to it. We can postulate all the solutions we want, but most of the good actors and moderates on both sides have been like assassinated. And I mean, Yitzhak Rabin signs a peace deal, gets killed by a right-wing Israeli, right? The moderate and left-wing Palestinians get killed by Hamas. They just clean house of anybody who can affect positive change, and then you're just going to be quagmired in brutality forever. So once you realize that this is just going to be dog shit, and there's not much anyone can do about it except hope that they can negotiate a ceasefire, which will be much more effective if there's a president-elect and Netanyahu realizes he's not going to get Trump. Then he's going to be like, well, fuck, now I got to do a ceasefire and figure out ways that I don't get banished from ever buying U.S. weapons again. You have to look at domestic policy, right? So if in your attempt to save Gazans, which I think is noble, and the Gazans should be saved from this onslaught, because so many of them are just straight up victims being stuck in this open air prison, being ruled by an authoritarian Islamist, group. Hamas is Islamist. 30+% of Palestinians are Christian, right? And yet you've got evangelical Christians in the United States backing Israel. Why? Because those evangelical Christians, the ones who fund and operate IPAC, they want Israel to rebuild the Temple Mount so that Jesus will come back and the end of the world can begin. That's it. That's their entire reasoning, which is fucking bonkers. So they will push for as much suffering as possible, just in the hopes that those Jews are going to rebuild that temple so the world can end and Jesus can come back. So, outside of that, you have to look at what the ramifications are of not voting for Kamala Harris, which is Trump and Project 2025 Agenda 47, which is, limiting interstate travel for women because they want to make sure that you aren't leaving the state to go have an abortion, right? It is firing anybody in the government who does not sign a loyalty oath to Donald Trump and creating a bureaucratic nightmare. This is what happens in autocratic states, is that you get rid of all the qualified experts who work in these bureaucracies and you replace them with sycophants and cronies, and then the entire system crumbles. It's the reason why the oil output of Venezuela is a fraction of what it was 10 years ago, because they fired all the qualified engineers and roughnecks and all those guys and put in know-nothing sycophants who don't know how to operate oil fields and refineries and things like that. So they went from producing $300 billion a year in oil to less than $100 billion a year in oil, and 25% of the population is left. That's what happens in Russia. Anytime a nerd shows up who's qualified and knows how to do things, Putin has them killed. Their industrial capacity in Russia has collapsed significantly since the fall of communism, because people that knew how to build tractors and computers and whatnot, all those guys are smart. They're engineers, they're scientists, they're brilliant. And Putin goes, I can't have anyone brilliant, because if they do a competent job, people look at them and perhaps follow their orders. So he just has them killed and then puts idiots in charge. And it's really easy, if you're an idiot, to run most natural resource extraction. So you'll get idiots in charge of the oil production in Russia. And you don't have the smart guys. So the problem in Russia right now is that oil, natural gas, gold mining, all that stuff, all that is run by idiot mafiosos. But they subcontract with American, European, and Chinese companies who have the nerds. And those guys come in and they do all the work for them. And the Russian collects the money. Well, since sanctions have happened, they've lost a lot of the experts. The Exxon and ConocoPhillips and Shell and all those dudes can't fulfill their contracts in Russia, so oil production is really starting to drop. So as wells dry up, there aren't new wells being drilled because of that cronyism. So if you want to make the country look like a colossal shithole and to fail miserably, all because of an outside hope that one of these third-party candidates, who are probably being funded with Russian money, are going to somehow fix the Israel-Gaza problem, you're going to end up with a bunch of garbage here at home, because Trump is going to destroy everything. He's going to destroy everything. I mean, the last time he was elected, the economy crashed and millions of people died. And that was him fumbling about and not specifically trying to ruin things like he is with his plan with Project 2025. They literally just give like checklists for him to do. Like, okay, we'll submit that. We'll pass this legislation. Check. Next one. And he doesn't have to think. He can just flip page by page and just submit this stuff and sign it. And then steadily this country will become an authoritarian dictatorship where atrocities like what's happening in Gaza will be happening here on our soil. And that's where we are. So, take your pick. We got a lesser of two evils situation. So I'm going to go with lesser of two evil, because otherwise it's Trump. And Trump sucks. And people in the chat who are like, Trump 2024, fuck you guys. Because he sucks. He sucks. He's going to gut the SEC. He's going to make sure no regulation happens. That the shorts can do whatever the hell they want, right? Yeah, he's going to complain about DJT, but he's going to sell all of his DJT on the 20th anyway, make $1 billion, and leave you all holding bags on it. So after that, he's not going to care about what happens to Truth Social. He won't. He wants his $1 billion, and that's it. Yeah, so there you go. SS Minnow Johnson, Gaza needs to be a parking lot so Israelis can live in peace. As a white male, Houston, you'll be out of a job under Harris. I'm a white male, but I'm also a Jew at that. But yeah, the whole like make them a parking lot thing. I mean, cool. You're pro genocide. I get it. That's why you're voting for Trump. Case in point. Why can't Palestinians live in peace? Right? I mean, the 1948 war was fucking brutal. The Israelis, like, you see car bombings and suicide attacks and things like that today coming from Palestinians, both West Bank, Hezbollah, you name it, right? Those were the tactics the Jews were doing prior to partition in 1948. They were blowing up cars. They were doing assassinations. They were shooting up school children. Those Zionist militias did brutal attacks. We're talking, you had a Palestinian village. The Palestinian village was like, hey, Israel, we're cool. You guys partition whatever, as long as we can just, do our thing. All right. And they signed an agreement with the militias, like, hey, these guys are peaceful. They don't care if we come in and start farms and whatnot. And then the Israeli militia followed up and killed everyone in town. None of that, but there's Israeli soldiers who, on the historical record, have accounts of like, hey, we went into this bakery and there's this terrified family, and so we took their toddler and we threw him into the oven and forced his dad to watch his child cook to death in there. Isn't that hilarious? And then we threw him in the oven after his kid, and then we took over their town. And now and then we moved a bunch of Jews in there. Like that's the stuff that they did in the 1948 war. So when you had 800,000 people displaced in the partition, you had all sorts of conflicts. You had Arab states saying, "Hey, we're going to come to your rescue. Just leave for your safety, and we'll come in and rescue." And then they didn't do anything. You had them getting chased away. You had folks that left because they were scared war was going to happen. And when they came back, they discovered that there was a whole family living in their house, and there was nowhere for them to go. There were horrors on all sides of this thing, and everyone is so traumatized with so many decades of conflict that they're just going to hate each other. It's just going to hate each other. So SS Minnow Johnson's solution is basically just genocide one entire side, and then just be done with. Just pick one arbitrarily, and that's who's going to get genocided. I guess that's a solution, but it also involves electing Trump, who's a terrible human being, and will do similar things here in the U.S. Just because you support some doesn't mean you won't fall victim to their policies. Just ask the Verband National Deutscher Juden in pre-war Germany. They were all like, hey, if we support this Hitler guy, he's not going to kill us. And so all these Jews band together, made a fascist group that was pro-Hitler, got Hitler elected, and they were the first ones to get destroyed. So you gotta look at who you're going to hitch your wagon to on that one. Think about like what the situation really is. The folks in Israel, the Palestinians who were in what is now Israel, are ethnically and genetically the same folks as the Jews who came in to replace them. This would be like, we'll go mapping here. We'll map it up. Okay, so this would be like 1,300 years ago, you had a whole bunch of Vikings all throughout Sweden, Norway, Denmark. These Vikings were going around, they're raping, they're pillaging, they're pagan, they're conquering, they're intermarrying, they're kidnapping, right? And they would raid Scotland, kill a bunch of people. They'd raid England, kill a bunch of people. They'd raid Ireland, kill a bunch of people. And they would raid, Normandy and France. They made their way all the way around so that berserkers in the Byzantine Empire were working as palace guards. half of Ukrainians can trace their lineage to Viking warriors who marauded their way through and raped and pillaged. And these Vikings, they would go in, they would steal the best looking women, put them on their ships, and they would take them to this one little fjord in Iceland and drop them off. And so there's this fjord in Iceland is considered the best looking people in the entire world because they took the hottest women that they could steal and just kept dropping them off there. And after a while, for 1,000 years, Iceland just kind of sat off on its own. And Iceland, for a long time, was largely pagan. Now imagine that all of a sudden, the Icelanders out here, this diaspora of Nordic warriors, suddenly were like, we're going to go back to the homeland, we're going back to Norway. And they come back and they start repopulating Norway. And when they get to Norway, they find a whole bunch of atheists and Christians, because that's what Norway is today. It's all atheists and Christians. And they go, who are these interlopers? We're going to kick them out, and they're going to start forcing them onto reservations because they're not true pagan druids like Odinists or whatever, like the real Vikings that were the Icelanders. That's basically what happened in Israel. In Israel, you had a diaspora of Jews spread throughout the world, and they had various reasons. You had, conquering Arab tribes, and you had Ottoman Turks, and then you had Romans, and they moved for travel, they moved for business, they whatever. But the people who are left behind in here, who are left behind in what is Palestine, they converted to Christianity, they converted to Islam, and a lot of them remained Jews. They just stayed. They just stayed Jews. And so when all these Jews from Europe, all these Jews from North Africa, all these Jews from Arabia, when they came back in the 1940s to the present day, and they found, who are these heathens, these Arabs and these Christians? They're the same people. They've been there for thousands of years. There were Jews, 1,200 years ago, 2,000 years ago. It's just in that amount of time, they've converted and changed religions. That's it. They're the same folks, the same people. They just weren't part of the diaspora. So it's just kind of, the whole situation is just fucked up. And we can talk about it forever and never actually come to a true solution. And that's where we are. So that's kind of a long rant. kind of a nihilist, apathetic rant in that we won't find a solution. But I have to think, in this election, I have to think about domestic policy, because any foreign policy stuff, if I have to vote on that, I know that here will be destroyed by Trump and his cronies. So that's it. Okay. Where was I? That's Big Lots question. Start alert. Oi, Houston. Good night from Germany. Gonna watch tomorrow. Have fun, everyone. All right. You too. Grape Knowles. Houston, do you think anything will ever come of this ICJ genocide ruling? Looking back years from now, how do you think people will talk about Palestine and this genocide? Personally, years from now, there'll be people who mention it, and then it will just be yet another in a long line of unfortunate events in the region in the end. That's what I think. And I think it's brutal that we're gonna have that outlook on it. But yeah, that's what I think is gonna happen. For the people it's happening to, it's going to be lifelong trauma. For folks like us who are outside of it, who just see it as some sort of current event that's happening, and go, oh man, that sucks. That's, anything happened with Coney 2012? And I remember that warlord that was marauding through Africa. Nothing ever happened to him. He, raped and pillaged his way through Africa. They did this hashtag Coney 2012, and then nothing. You even think about it today. In fact, this is the first time I thought of it probably years. So yeah, I know it's kind of defeatist and nihilist and think about it that way, about human life that way, but it's what it is. Where we have zero attention span, and as a culture, and so yeah. Kelly Reed. So school season starting and seeing the craziness over in Saskatoon, a 14-year-old girl lit a 15-year-old on fire at Evan Hardy School. Rumor is she was stalking the victim all summer. Well, that's crazy. I mean, here in the U.S., they would just shoot 45 kids instead of lighting one girl on fire. But Yeah. There's I don't know why we raise shitty kids. Not all of them are shitty, but we raise enough shitty ones that they pop off in the news doing horrific things way too often. We need to do a better job. Tankman142, any more info on Sunday political show? Well, I mean, you probably just got a taste of it right there. Yeah. I'm shooting for 2 p.m. premiere on Sunday, 2 p.m. Pacific time, so 5 East Coast. It is going to be focused solely on Russian payments for social media influencers and newsmakers and probably politicians to spread propaganda and disinformation. So yeah, SJ super chat HW. This is for the Postage Australia. This is going to be a nice, expensive piece of metal for you, SJ. Thank you. All right. MS DFV is not a cat, but a goat. Seagill sold my UVIX call way too soon. I guess I bought my put October, expecting too soon. Well, you have more opportunities to play with them. What just happened? Sorry. Okay. Parataran, Houston, you think those XX and low XXX holders are going to walk away with this anything remotely near retirement? I always fear for the folks who need it most won't be involved. I mean, if GME keeps diluting, it's going to make that much more of an outside chance happening. I think if they had done nothing, they did nothing at all in May and did nothing at all in June 7th, that the prices would have reached retirement numbers by now. But they're diluting, killing momentum, and killing the gamma squeeze, which would have bled into FOMO and everything else. That GME killed MOASS twice this summer, or spring, I guess technically it was. So if that's what GME is going to keep doing, then yeah, it's going to be hard for the XX and XXX holders to get those crazy phone numbers for their shares. So my hope is that Cohen and company are like, not yet. And that's why they did what they did. And not, we're going to help out the short hedge funds and dilute every single time this comes along. I hope that's not what they're doing. Mary Eileen Gardner, aren't you tired of getting skunked by the Wall Street Mafia yet? I just think you're really just a gambler. You may have better luck playing slots in Vegas. Of course I'm a degenerate gambler. I've never made any qualms about that one way or the other there, Mary Eileen Gardner. We're really stupid. Houston. I'm 5 minutes behind, so you might not see this before the show's over. What do you call drug-busting team of bugs? Narcotics. Oh, okay. But really stupid. Also, I think I might have a new show for you to pitch. Really? Lay it on me, really stupid. MS, Houston, how do you do? Doing all right. Know the pain is from your neck? Oh, yeah. Because if I look wrong, it shoots right down my trap and goes into my shoulder, and it feels like it's originating my shoulder, but really it's the head. It's the head that's doing it. Pidgey Sunday, happy birthday, Hooters. Please give Primate Arse a rough pet for me. Where are you, monkey? I can't. Come here. Come here. I'm gonna rough pet you. Alright, since you're over here, I might as well throw one of these things at you. Want a stinky toothbrush? Stinky toothbrush all the way from Hawaii? Huh? Come on and get it! Whoa! It's right there. It's right there. It's right there. Oh my goodness. It's right there. Can you get it? There you go. It's amazing how easy it is just to keep it that far out of her reach. Those things are stinky. Cloud K20, haven't heard the word in a long while. The bird? The bird's the word. Colin, had a buy order for 225s at 75 cents that came down to 80, then rocketed up to 250. Oh. Well, whoever got them at 80, good for you. Andrew Taintertot. Houston. I have been busy and haven't been keeping up. Do we have news on MMTLP and or no labs? No news on MMTLP. No labs. What was their last news? At their earnings call, they said that they're focusing now on preparing the pre-application for the FDA approval. And I think that's where we are. And I can lots of messages here. What's happening? Who's messaging me? That's just Iggy. Iggy cracking jokes. Did you eat it all? Good job. Good job, puppy dog. You are good at eating things. Shannon McIntyre. Yay. Hi, Houston. Hello. Case. You didn't get the poster? Oh, I got the poster. The poster's there. I got the poster. Sorry. I forgot about that one. Yes. I have the poster. He gave me a Pick a Destiny poster. So, still haven't seen the movie, but I have the poster. Sharon McIntyre's in Amsterdam. Ooh, fancy. Daniel Harris. Scott Troust is on X, is going balls to the wall after FINRA showed latest filing, and he is going scorched earth on them. Send me links. I'd love to see it. Dave R. If the Earth stopped immediately, will we fly into space? No. Well, I mean, if the Earth just hurt, you would head out at about, depending on where you are. If you are at the North Pole or South Pole, you would just kind of fall over. If you are near the equator, you will immediately be launched at 1,000 miles an hour. But then again, so will all the trees and all the buildings and all the animals and chunks of rock and stuff like that. You'll all just be launched at 1,000 miles an hour because that's the momentum you have. It's just like if you brake really hard in a car, you fly forward and bounce off the dashboard, right? This case, you're flying forward at 45, 50 miles an hour versus flying forward at 1,000 miles an hour. So my guess is that you won't necessarily reach outer space because it's going to be at a tangent. So the Earth is a sphere, right? So it's going to be a tangent. And you're going to have so much atmosphere to pass through that you'll slow down eventually and go splat and just be in this mix of things that different viscosities through the atmosphere, different air resistance. So you're probably just going to be pink mist in reality if you were on an Earth that just suddenly went stop. So yeah, your training cabinet is not going to survive. But the further north or south you are, the better chance of survival you have. If you're really, really far north or really, really far south where there aren't many people, everything's going, oh, because your rotational velocity is much lower than that at, the equator. TDoc119, and 9 million shares. How many more GME shares can RK purchase without having to report? 5%. I think he's allowed 22 million. I think it keeps him below 5% at this point. Because there's 425 million, 450 million, somewhere in there. It's 450 million. 10% would be 45 million, so half of that is 22.5. So somewhere around there. Yeah. Tankman142, what's the best outcome in your opinion for the upcoming Canadian federal election? I think Labour Party is currently screwed, that the Conservatives are going to dominate. Trudeau's cabinet has done a pretty shit job navigating the current global financial issues and caved to, I think, real estate agents and housing builders. That's what and I think they ruined their chance at retaining control of the government. Yeah, so unless something drastically changes, when's the next election? It's next year, isn't it? Next Canadian federal election. October 2025. Okay, so it's next year, yeah. So unless something drastically changes and Trudeau manages to eke out some wins, he's pretty doomed, I think, next election cycle. Avocados, I'm back. Not as exciting as DFV, of course, but hey, welcome back there, Avocados. Avant Green, happy Friday. BBYQ question. If we're going to get new equity, wouldn't a share count need to be performed? Yeah. It would. So yes, we would need to see that. Avant Green, Bloomberg confirmed 117 million shares at time of bankruptcy, but that's not a count of claim of ownership. We all know FTDs take naked short exceeds the total shares outstanding. Yes. So if 117 is the official number, which I think it could be more than that because of Hudson Bay and whatnot, but let's just say it's 117 million. What they do is they go to their transfer agent and they deposit 117 million new shares. And that transfer agent then sends them out to the folks that are registered and then takes what's left and gives them to the DTCC, who then distributes to the brokerages, and the brokerages receive those and assign them to the various accounts that they think should have them. If there's significantly more than that, that's where the shorts then have to go into the market and provide the shares. They got to go buy the shares from the folks who got them and provide them to the folks who didn't get them. So the folks who didn't get them are going to have these crazy IOUs. It's going to show that their shares have been shorted or lent out or whatever. And in order to close those positions, the people who shorted and sold those shares naked are going to have to go into the market and pay a fortune for them to supply them to everyone they're required to. So that's basically what happens. So you just have how many shares you say there should be, and then you distribute accordingly to that, and then the process just takes care of itself after that. Choose Miami DeSantis 2024. Oh man, DeSantis is really stepping in it now. He might have some issues with the federal investigations into Russian payments going on. When he was in the House, there were some connections between him and some Russian folks. His press secretary got busted, and she was questioned by the FBI. Immediately resigned her position, and then immediately filed as a foreign registered agent because she was getting money from Russia. And his state is completely collapsing. University of Florida went from the #1 public university to the #34 public university because that's how much he has destroyed the education system in Florida in just 1 year. So yeah, DeSantis, oof, buddy. Mary Eileen Gardner, do you really believe these polls? Remember when Hillary Clinton was 95% probable win in 2016? Hillary Clinton did win in 2016. She got 3 million more votes than Trump. Trump just happened to have enough squirrely things happen in a few states. They eked out a win. The numbers are quite weird. Like the voter turnout in Michigan in 2016 was higher voter turnout than in Michigan in 2004. George Bush lost Michigan with more votes than Trump got in Michigan 12 years later. And yet voter turnout was somehow higher? Weird. Oh, Wayne County had 75,000 ballots thrown out? Weird. And then Trump manages to win by 10,000 votes? That's interesting, right? So yeah, I think in 2020, the states were a little more set up to handle these things. Because remember, 2016, you had Russia hacked all 50 state election systems. Every single state election system they got inside of. And the FBI has never told anyone specifically about exactly what they did while they were in there, but we know they got in there and they had control of those systems. And some of these systems are standalone systems. Like Washington State's election computers are not connected to the internet. And somehow Russia got in there. Who, at the Washington State level, did Russia tickle to get them access to a standalone computer? Interesting. The FBI hasn't told us. But yeah, squirrely things, and you had people getting purged from voter rolls, and it's happening now. Like in Georgia, they've purged like a million voters. A lot of them are people that actively vote. And they're like, what the hell? I got to re-register. This sucks. So they do things like that to eke out a win, and because our stupid system allows for the Electoral College to be a thing. They can lose the election, popular vote wise, by large margins, and still somehow sneak out a win on the Electoral College level, which is crazy to me because it gives them a weak mandate and immediately has them as unpopular from the moment they take office, which doesn't bode well for anybody in the end. And the Electoral College system is all just a legacy of slavery. Because, we can... Did I show you this? I think I've talked about it before. But, when we first formed as a country, we were not very democratic. We were a, constitutional republic. And lots of people on the right will say, we're not a democracy, we're a constitutional republic. No, we were a constitutional republic. Because the Senate was appointed by the states, right? You elected Congress, elected the House, and you would cast a vote sometimes for president. Not all states casted votes for presidents. Some states did. Others just appointed their electors to vote for the president. This is also when only white male landowners over the age of 21 were allowed to vote. So you had states like Pennsylvania, which had, 10,000 white male landowners in the city of Philadelphia, and you had states like Virginia, which only had 1,000 landowners in the entire state, because it was basically a feudal system where you had gigantic plantation owners and sharecroppers and slaves, and that was it. So a state like Virginia, which had millions of people basically, and more people than all of Pennsylvania did at the time. Pennsylvania had more voters because it had more landowners. So how do you rectify this? Well, you make slaves 3/5 of a person so that they get representation, even though they aren't human beings according to the Constitution. And then you allow them to have a proportional representation of members of Congress according to the population that's based upon these slaves, the enslaved people that they had. And then you give them voting power assigned to that proportionality. So you can look at the elections of 1792, 1796, 1800, etc. And each one of these elections, Virginia had thousands fewer voters than Massachusetts, than New Jersey, than New York, than Philadelphia. But for the first 40 years of this country, first 36 of the first 40 years, a Virginian was elected president. Why? Because Virginia had way more electoral votes than all those others. So Virginia would have 1,000 voters. Those 1,000 voters would vote for George Washington or vote for Jefferson or vote for Madison, Virginians. And you'd have 6,000 votes, 10,000 votes, 12,000 votes in Boston or Massachusetts voting for somebody else. And then, the Virginian would win office based on electoral vote. So, and people were like, oh, it's not a racist system. New Jersey was the one that proposed it. New Jersey was a slave state at the time. At the time New Jersey proposed the Electoral College, they were a slave state. So they didn't stop being a slave state until a couple decades later. But it is a legacy of slavery. So yeah, that's how polls can be wrong about Hillary Clinton. She was right. She won the election. But she lost because of a few states where some squirrely things happened so that the Electoral College can take over. Which is why you see polls now of Harris running away with it at like 5-6% leads nationally. That's going to translate to bigger leads, I think, in some of these swing states than what is being alluded to. And the polls have issues with oh crap! I gotta get it going. The polls have issues with who they poll, because young people don't answer their phones. So you got to have crazy algorithms to affect it. People that do answer the polls, they're older. Older people generally are more conservative, and so on. That's just kind of how it works. And I'm way late. I've got to get the hell out of here. Everybody, have a great night. I will see you on Sunday for the premiere of my political show. You hear more of me talking about this crap, I guess. So, all right, later.